as the president arrived in China for the 3-day trip, where he was greeted by school children and the band playing YMCA. President Trump says there was important progress in stabilizing U.S.-China relations, even as deep differences persist between the world's two biggest powers on Iran, Taiwan, and more.
But I just want to thank President Xi and all of his representatives, and we've become friendly with all of them. It's been really a great couple of days. Thank you very much.
Back home here in New York City, the very disturbing Brooklyn anti-Semitic protest again outside a synagogue, with Mayor Mamdani having little to say in denouncing it. He did tout completion of his first budget.
This budget does not raise property taxes, and it refuses to slash services.
And finally, the MTA starts cracking down on bus fare evaders, costing the city millions. This from Channel 4.
No more free rides. The MTA cracking down on bus fare evaders who are costing the city millions. The agency says Eagle teams will be riding on random local bus routes across the city. They will have onboard validation devices to check for proof of payment. Violators could face summonses. The MTA says in the first quarter of the year, nearly half, 49% of riders on local bus routes, did not pay the fare.
And that was the Week in Politics. I'm Dominic Carter. See you on the radio.
Here at 77 WABC, we understand you just can't get enough. People ask me all the time.
It's going to be interesting to see where all this goes.
I never ran away from the challenge.
They've been spreading this for years. You got to admit, this was interesting.
Everybody,
The best talk and dancing on the weekends with Cousin Brucey. Always look to the sky. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
From the Powerhouse Blowtorch Signal, Talk Radio 77 WABC, we welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to your weekend as we move deeper into a weekend that I know you'll have many fond memories of. We celebrate Armed Forces Weekend. In the United States, this is celebrated the third Saturday, that is May the 16th, 2026, to honor Americans currently serving in all 6 branches of the military, established in 1949 to replace separate service branch days. It is a key element of Armed Forces Week and Military Appreciation Month. Thank you for joining me, host Steve Cates, Dr. Sky, on the Dr. Sky Experience, broadcasting proudly to the nation and the world as we continue to talk about great mysteries not only in the universe from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, celebrity guests, and in hour number 1, stories of American exceptionalism. We like to call this show as we welcome you into something called the theater of the mind, imagination, because obviously you're not watching this on television or computer screens, at least we imagine so. And as we continue to move through time and space, we love your conversation and being part of the show. The contact number is simply 1-800-848-9222, or simply 1-800-848-WABC. And while you're at it, why not download the WABC app, making you an even greater part of this growing family of Talk Radio 77, WABC. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our helmsman, Bill, for managing all of what you would expect from a great radio station to hear it as proud and loud as you would expect. As mentioned before, a station with well over 100 years of lineage, broadcasting not only to the nation, to the world, and I'm even confident somewhere deep out into the cosmos. Once again, our contact number to join us in the Theater of the Mind, 1-800-848-9222. In tonight's adventure, in hour number 1, we will go on to stories of American exceptionalism. We'll be talking in just a moment with a gentleman who embodies that particular dream and talk still about why the American dream still works for all of us if we work hard and we simply use common sense. In hour number 2, we'll be talking with retired Navy Captain Doug Cupo, talking more about the latest revelations in the UFO disclosure. And that will be what we'll talk about in hour number 2 with you. Lots of disclosures or not, but our special guest, Doug Cupo, will guide us through this. A little bit more before we introduce our special guest. What are the aspects of Armed Forces Day and Weekend? Its purpose is to honor, thank, and show support for active duty, reserve, and National Guard service members, as well as their families. A bit of the history on it. On August the 31st, 1949, Secretary of Defense Lewis Johnson announced its creation to honor the unification of all military branches under the then Department of Defense. The first official celebration was back on May the 20th, 1950. There are many celebrations that do go on, but in many people's minds, they never heard of this day. Armed Forces Day and Armed Forces Weekend honors those currently serving in the military, both the men and women. Memorial Day, of course, the last Monday coming up in May, honors those who died while in service. And Veterans Day, November the 11th, honors all those who have served, especially veterans. And here's a man to talk about this and his patriotic side as we talk about truth, justice, and the American way. Who is he? He's Andy Ross, patriot, public speaker, musical talent, chasing the American dream, and as he says, burning patriotic fuel. His website is andyross.com. Andy Ross, thanks for being here as we celebrate America and our veterans here in the United States and serving around the world. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Blessed to be here, and happy Armed Forces Day to you.
Absolutely, my brother. So people may not know you, but then again, I don't say that with disrespect, but then again, many people do know you. So talk about your legacy of how you've built your businesses and the reason that you're talking with us as we celebrate American exceptionalism. And the important point here is why the American dream still works, in your opinion. Not an easy task. Everybody who builds businesses, I'm sure it's not an easy thing to do, but they have to continue if they want to be successful. It's simply what? Hard work.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been very blessed to turn a lot of passions into business and success. And, my story is I had a TV show for 10 years called Maximum Archery World Tour. I bow hunted the world on outdoor TV. And, I thought it would be fun to have a little proprietary music to play on the show during the opener and when the credits would roll in and out of commercials. And I wrote, Gotta Go Hunting Blues, Hunt Me Down, Buck of a Lifetime, Blood Trail on a Whitetail, Support Your Local Wildlife. And I really did just write the songs for the purpose of enhancing the show, giving it a rock and roll edge, a little vibe. I didn't know the internet was going to explode. File sharing was a thing. Certainly didn't see iTunes coming. But all that came along and lifted up my music, took it around the country and around the world. And next thing I knew, Nashville started calling. I had the opportunity to write with some great major artists and start making records. And 2015, my Time to Fight record had a song on it called American Rebel, which we were able to turn in, decided to build a brand around it. We were able to turn that into a brand. So, as I said, I've been blessed to turn passion into success and working hard and doing everything we can to chase that American dream and whatever your version of that American dream is. And always, the one thing this country, not the one thing, one of the many things this country does better than any other country is it does provide opportunity. And that opportunity is always mixed with difficulty. There's always a challenge. It's always, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Doesn't always pan out the first time. Doesn't always work the second time.
Yes.
Doesn't always work the 23rd time. But in this country, we have the right to pick ourselves up, keep trying, keep fighting. And, it's a real blessing.
Well, you say it so well, sir, and I have an appeal to the audience out there as they call us in our what we call Theater of the Mind here, 1-800-848-922. And I would basically pose this question to the audience. What do we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, to keep American exceptionalism at the tip of our minds? And I go into a deeper analysis of this with everybody's commentary on this. Mr. Ross, I haven't seen too many places. I don't have children, but many of my friends, of course, who have youngsters, we don't even hear any more about doing the Pledge of Allegiance anymore, do we? I mean, is that something that's kind of faded away? Sad to say. And your opinion on that? I mean, I think it's so important that we have our traditional American values, and that's why we brought you on here this particular early morning in other parts of the nation still on Saturday night. Your thoughts on that? I mean, the Pledge of Allegiance, we were little kids, and, I'm in my 70s, and that was part and parcel what we did. What happened to it, in your opinion?
The school system just, they just found a way they're always, picking at certain books and certain values that we have and trying to just kind of broaden this agenda to, please everyone, please every person from every place and every background, and how in the world we got off on that path is beyond me, because the Pledge of Allegiance, I can't think of anything more important, than starting your day, especially not just as a child, but even as an adult. I can't think of anything more important than starting that classroom out, stating the Pledge of Allegiance. The fact that they get to have this type of opportunity and education and start to, it's as fundamental as teaching a child to brush his teeth and make his bed.
Absolutely. And this is something that I'm finding a little disturbing. But then again, I don't have all the answers. That's why we bring people like yourself on to share these experiences, because here in America, we have the ability to grow a business, and it's difficult. I know many people that have tried, and they've failed, and then they came back again, and then they succeeded, and it was all about perseverance and hard work, as we call it, the American dream. Now I'm going to go to our helmsman, Bill, and see, in accordance with what you've said, Mr. Ross, talking about our flag and the Pledge of Allegiance, how about we at least cue up a little bit of a song that you've written. We won't play it all. I Stand For You. Let's see if we can go to that right now. Andy Ross, that's powerful stuff, and I think, in my humble opinion, that ought to be a live production that you do right there in the nation's capital, if it isn't already your ability to do it, and sing that, and plus many other patriotic songs. Talk about this as your part of your musical background. I mean, this is fascinating. I love what I'm hearing. I love the lyrics, and it sounds great to me. I could listen to this for a long time.
The blessing of that song, I had the idea. I've written a lot of songs about the flag. A lot of people I know, and artists, Toby Keith, God rest his soul, has written a lot of great songs about the flag. My bow hunting brother, Ted Nugent's written so many good songs about the flag. But I had the idea, instead of writing a song about the flag, I thought, what if the flag could write the song? What if the song was from the perspective of the flag that he wrote about us, the people? And I called my good friend from Little Texas, Porter Howe, and asked him if he'd write it with me, and we wrote it, and it turned out great. And one of the big blessings from that song is that song got me able to play the 250th anniversary of the United States Army at Fort Campbell, and what an honor that was.
That is incredible, my friend, as we celebrate, well, not just the memory, it's not over yet. The Armed Forces Day, of course, the 16th, but we call it Armed Forces Weekend. The sacrifice that many are making in the military today, I don't think many people really focus it unless they were in the service. And we just want to, again, salute. We dedicate this particular show not only to the story of truth, justice, and the American way, but American exceptionalism. But going back to your musical career, when did you start writing and when did you start performing like this? I mean, this has been a lifelong passion of yours. When did you get started in this?
I could play, coming out of high school, I could play a little bit. And I thought I could write, some songs and knew my way around the recording studio just a little bit. I came from a small town called Chinook, Kansas, down in the southeast corner of Kansas. And And again, when I had the TV show, Maximum Archery World Tour, I knew I put together a couple songs just because I thought they would be cool on the show. I really did not see the music career coming. And even the artists that would talk to me out of Nashville, they'd call up, they were hunters, and they'd want to be a guest on the show, and they'd say, yeah, and we've heard your music, it's okay, good first stab at it. But you want to come to Nashville and write, and the TV show, because of the popularity of the show, it gave me the opportunity to write with better musicians and better writers than I was. So I got to write up. They call that in Nashville. If you've not written a number one or a hit, and you get to write with someone who has, they call that writing up. You get to write up with a writer that's maybe more established or has more to his credit list. And so I got to write up very early on, and I learned from some great writers and put together, what I think is a good body of a real good country rock and roll body of work that I'm very proud of. And so, I tell people, I have this conversation a lot. I'm not going to win The Voice. I wish I had. Maybe I don't wish I had that kind of voice. I'm thrilled to have the one I have, but I'm not going to win The Voice. But I sing Andy Ross songs better than anybody out there, on this rock. So
sounds pretty good to me, brother. I like what I'm hearing, and I think many out there who are obviously interested. Right, in this genre of music. I mean, you say it like it is, and, how dare anybody say that the Midwest is flyover country, because we certainly would disagree. But let's go back to Nashville. I mean, the mecca of music. I mean, the tradition, that must be, I haven't been there. I mean, I was there many, many years ago, and this is probably in the 70s, but it's a major sprawling metropolis of not only music and so many other great positive energies about this country.
It's a great state. It's a red state. It's a no state tax state. It's music city. I actually just had a conversation with Senator Blackburn. She's been unbelievably supportive of the music in Nashville and the songwriters in Nashville. It obviously brings in a lot of tourism, and it's growing so much. It's unbelievable how much Nashville's growing. I've lived here now 18 years. I came here to make the first record, You Ain't Seen Crazy Yet, and that was 18 years ago, and I'm still here, working on new music and doing what we do. But the city has changed so much, and it's growing so much. People are moving here. A lot of people coming in from all over, but California, and unfortunately, they're bringing their labradoodles and politics with them. It drives me crazy. I'm like, why are you coming here? If you go back there, if you're going to be, don't run this thing, man. We got a good thing going here, but it's getting pretty populated. But you can't stand in the way of progress and growth. I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers when their town or their city, 20, 30 years ago, when it felt a little more homey, a little more like home.
Yes. Well, absolutely. It's an honor to have you here as we celebrate again the tradition that many people may not even know about. I mean, this is something that we want to bring to the focus of the world's attention through this powerhouse radio station. The celebration and remembrance of all those, and of course, those actively serving men and women in the United States military, and all the 6 branches. And the 6th one now, in case people are not familiar, President Trump, of course, creating the Space Force, which is something that I'm near and dear with when we talk about the Dr. Sky experience there, and beyond the wonders of the heavens. But this is passion that you have, and I just wanted to see, not to put you out, in an unfair question, but simply this, from the heart, what does America mean to you that you can transmit to this powerful audience? I know what it means to me, but I got you to answer this one.
Yeah, it seems like a simple answer, but it's the land of opportunity. It's the land of freedom. The land, free. I mean, just take one of our countless freedoms, freedom of speech. I can write a song. I can write a song about butterflies if I want to, or I can write a song about pretty girls if I want to. I have a tattoo. One of my tattoos says "Rockin' the First Amendment," which freedom of speech. But I put it into music, and you might hear some music out there that you don't agree with, and some lyrics you don't want to agree with, but but we do have we do have that right. And, I wish, I used to say I wish children, but I've stopped saying I wish children. Now I say I wish everybody. If you had a globe, if you set a globe beside your bed, and every morning when you woke up, before you open your eyes, you spin that globe and stop it with your finger, and then just imagine what your life would be like if you lived there, wherever your finger landed on that globe, how different your life would be. Could you do this radio show if you lived there? If you could I play this music if I lived there? Do you know what the odds are of your finger landing on the United States of America? And if it lands on the United States of America, you know how blessed you are.
Yeah, you say it so
anywhere
well.
else that thing could.
Yeah, you say it so well. And as other esteemed people who created our country said, a republic if you can keep it. But you're lighting up the phone lines, I would think nothing but. So let's go to the callers right now in the interest of their part of our theater of the mind, as we like to call it. Let's go to line number 1 and welcome Max in Manhattan. You're on with American Patriot, public speaker, musical talent, Andy Ross. How you doing there, Max?
Ross, Dr. Sky. Some years ago, I was
Can you speak up a little louder? I'm sorry, the audience can't hear you too well. Try it again.
Is this a little better?
It is absolutely 100,000 times better.
Perfect. Listening to your songs, years ago I wouldn't have been that patriotic for a lot of your songs, but now I am. So when I hear you singing, I heard you singing that one song, it really excited me and it lit me up. Some years ago I was driving to work, and there was a Muslim school that I would pass by every day. And one day I decided to call them up and make a story up about wanting to put my kid in the school. And I asked her, I said, listen, do you respect the Pledge of Allegiance? She said to me, what's that? And I said, I pledge allegiance.
What's that? Mm-hmm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And then she said to me, oh, no, we don't do that here.
Really? So, where else do we do it? Right. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
No, that's amazing, Max. Yeah, go ahead there, Andy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say there is a lot of people that have struggled really hard to get to this country and be citizens in this country. I can't imagine why when they get here, because they know how special this country is, when they work that hard to get here, why would they not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance? That's what they came here for.
Absolutely. It's a pretty simple thing. Yeah.
To enjoy the benefits that this country was founded on, that represents.
That means a whole big difference there. That should be part of our daily life in many of these cases. Max, you get the last word. We got to go quickly, but we try to be respectful of all callers in the theater. If you're there with us, please continue.
Sure, I'll be quick. Mr. Ross, just keep writing those songs, the type of songs that you were writing. I just hope it'll get passed out more and more often and reach more people. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Max in Manhattan, for joining us with our legendary guest talking about American exceptionalism as we mark Armed Forces Weekend. Let's go to line number 2. Greg in Michigan. You're on with Andy Ross. How are you this morning or evening in Michigan?
Oh, my God. Thanks for taking my call, Dr. Sky and Andy. Mr. Positive. I got to ask you, I'm a huge Elvis fan. And I got a lot of friends that are singer-songwriters, and they want to go to Nashville. And everybody's trying to be somebody else. Or what is your advice? You don't realize. I got a guy named Chris Anthony. He lives in Nashville. He lives in Michigan. And he's a singer-songwriter, and he wants to make it. But everybody is trying to make it in Nashville. How do you, Andy, make it in the music business when it's so dog-eat-dog? Everybody wants to fight everybody to try to get ahead and try to be successful.
Greg, you bring up a good point, Andy. This is amazing because it's all about the inner workings of the business. What would you say to Greg?
Well, first of all, I would say, spot on Elvis. I mean, there was only one Elvis, and I don't know. I mean, I'm watching a lot of his stuff, and the old YouTube clips are coming back, and all these different things. And you know, I don't know anyone today that's an artist out there that's outperformed that man. I mean, all these years, and he's still the king. But anyway, so we're in agreement on that. As far as you know, making it in Nashville, I mean, the playbook has changed tremendously. The days of a record label going out and discovering some band that was just so good and blew them away, and they had to they just had to make an investment in them and try to get some songs together and put them out and get them out in front of the audiences and out in front of people. I mean, that's kind of over now. Bands have to create their own image and music and get on social media and it's how many followers do you have, how many engagements do you have. That kind of fanfare is probably what they look at more than just sitting in a crowd looking to hear the next amazing band. Because to them, if they can release a song to somebody who's already got 16 million followers out there, they already have a built-in audience to market that music to. So it's a different game. Certainly, it's a different world. Now, on the positive side of that, you don't really need a label to be successful in the music business because your YouTube channel, you're on all digital streaming platforms. You can actually be your own label now. Everybody would like to get signed, get that big deal. I've actually had a couple labels have approached me, not with blockbuster deals, but with deals that looked to me more like they just wanted 85 to 95% of what I was already doing with no guarantee that they could expand my value or market share. So I'm pretty thankful, very thankful that I write my songs. I own the publishing. I don't. I'm not obligated to any major label out there. So
you say it well.
I would say build it on your own, and if the label comes knocking and makes you a deal that you feel like is worth giving up your right to make the kind of music you want and write what you want and not be told what to do and play where and when you want to play, but they're off putting something on the table, then you can evaluate it at that time. But I would go at it as if if the record label didn't exist.
Well said. Thank you, Greg in Michigan, for your participation. You bring up some very interesting points here, as you call regularly here to the Dr. Sky Experience. Wishing you and yours a great weekend. We're almost at the bottom of the hour, and you know that in the world of media and television. But before we go, I just want to remind everybody, his website is andyross.com. We've only scratched, Andy, right, the beginning of the surface of this whole experience, and we'll do our very best to get into the other subject matters. When we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit about your experiences with the Second Amendment. My background, of course, spent time in the law enforcement world. I'm still an active trainer as we teach people the sacred part of the Second Amendment, how the people should be able to use firearms and own them legally. That's a whole nother subject matter as we teach rifle, shotgun, pistol, and do have these certain classes for law enforcement people that we're involved with over the past years with the machine gun technology of today, keeping us free. The Second Amendment, as many say, one of the most important amendments of the Bill of Rights. But again, our special guest, if you're just joining us, Andy Ross, patriot, public speaker, musical talent, as you've heard, only a snippet, chasing the American dream, and he burns with patriotic fuel. He's here today to not only celebrate and honor Armed Forces Weekend, Armed Forces Day, officially the 16th of May, 2026, but why the American dream still works. And we'll be doing that with him and you, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with the callers from all over the nation, like line number 3 with Nick in Virginia, line 4, Silas in Staten Island, and line 1, Viviana in Brooklyn. We'll be right back on the Dr. Sky Experience.
All right. Here we go. It's the jingle, and I don't want to get hit with copy. I already got a copyright notice already because of the other song. So, hello everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the live stream. I'm streaming and I'm playing Dr. Sky, WABC, Dr. Sky Show. He's on every Friday and Saturday from midnight to 2 o'clock. Actually, it's technically Saturday morning till Sunday morning, from midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern time. I'm sorry, I'm coughing a little bit. I ate these hot chips, they're like salsa verde, and they're really burning my throat. Oh my God. I need to stop eating that. That's it. No more chips for tonight. So sorry for that. Anyway, I'll be talking during the commercial breaks. I don't want to talk over the show. And hello, my mom Z1V. My name is Mr. Surwich Tong Yam. Okay. And welcome to live stream, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Tell me where you're from. Let me know where you're from. I'd like to know where you're from. And again, thank you everybody for watching. Like I said, this Dr. Sky show will be on until 2 a.m. Eastern time. And right now they're on a commercial break, so I will be reading the comments during the commercial breaks. And also, please like and share the video. Also, subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of radio content, some tech content. I'm pushing out more tech content in the future. I renamed the channel a few months back. So it's not only about radio, it's also about tech. And I'll definitely pushing out more tech content out there. So thank you for watching. And
31 minutes after the
we're
hour.
back to the show. So enjoy the show. Anything, please, guys, say hello. Pop in and say hello. We're, it's a great chat in here. We're all friendly here. And yeah, so thank you for watching.
Your Second Amendment involvement.
Okay, here we go.
Supporting that big part of the Bill of Rights. Let's say good morning on line to line number 3 to Nick in Virginia. You've been patient. How are you this morning? Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Sky and Mr. Ross. We all grew up with our right hand on our hearts, reciting that daily reminder of our American exceptionalism. But today, we're under a lot of pressure, and our freedoms are under fire by a lot of our elected officials who don't even pledge allegiance to America. Some even pledge allegiance to other countries. And I would like for our oath that we take in office of those high positions to include maybe a rejection of socialism, communism, and Sharia law, which are now becoming visible in parts of our country, and it's very much concerns me. I'm sure it does you too.
Yes, Nick, you bring up some very powerful things here. Again, Andy, this gets into a whole different conversation. I wanted to steer it that way directly because what's wrong with having the Constitution talked about and taught? What's wrong about having us believe that we're not just a democratic organization, a democracy? We hear it so much. We're a constitutional republic. Your response to Nick in Virginia, please.
Yeah, we touched on it earlier. Again, you've got so many people that work so hard and go through unbelievable obstacles to be here, to come to this country because they know how great it is, and then they get to this country and don't want to celebrate or honor or respect the traditions, values, and everything it took to make this country what it is today. It's hard to figure out why anyone would fight tooth and nail to be here, come here legally, and then get here and not just want to embrace every single tradition and value that this great country has. I just spent a little bit of time up on Capitol Hill last week and walked by the congressmen and the House representatives' offices and saw names on doors. Just kind of reflected on what I've heard their speeches on, what I've heard them talk about, and kind of where their values lie. And it's interesting. You think that the point, if it was 1 out of 100, you might say to yourself, there's just some people that just don't get it. But it's not 1 out of 100. Unfortunately, it's a number that is concerning. And I just hope leadership can steer us, make sure and steer us back on track. But it starts with the vote, right? I mean, they're voted in, and someone is voting for them. And I think even educate yourself on the people that you're voting for. It starts there.
You're right, Nick in Virginia. Very prolific points here about allegiance to America, especially. It should be for everyone, but obviously to those that are into elected officials, that become elected officials. Thank you, Nick in Virginia. What I want to talk about here is your involvement with the Second Amendment, so important to me, even though people don't hear this from this particular show, maybe only, and if only, ever so often, when we talk about American exceptionalism. You have a business involved around this, and share it with people, because I think it's important for them to know why you believe in the Second Amendment and the things that you offer.
When I started, writing music, as we talked about, I wrote a bunch of hunting songs because I had the show. And producer Doug Grau said to me, he said, Andy, if we're going to make an album, we can't just make an album of hunting songs. There's got to be something else you're passionate about. What else I said, I love the shooting sports. The hunting I do is archery, but I love the shooting sports. I love to train. I'm pro Second Amendment, pro Constitution, and this kind of country patriotic rock and roll kind of sound and songs that I started coming out of me. And one song in particular, American Rebel, landed me on, it was off my Time to Fight record in 2015, landed me on Counting Cars. Danny Counting Cars was like,
love that show.
And he said, hey, let's build you a car around your music. And he built me what became the Second Amendment muscle car. It's kind of the Batmobile of the Second Amendment. It's been on display at many NRA shows and many SHOT shows and around the country. And it was one of their best episodes, best build, best paint, reruns all the time. And because of being on Counting Cars and because of the Second Amendment muscle car and the music, that's where people started calling upon me to be involved in events that surround themselves around the Second Amendment, or maybe even having conversations about the Second Amendment. And, I have a high-rise downtown Nashville, and I always, tell people, I said, down the street, just underneath my building, down here right, block or two off Broadway, there's a bank. And that bank has an armed security guard in that bank. And I understand that because there's a lot of money in that bank. And 2 doors, 3 doors, 4 doors down, there's a jewelry store. And there's an armed security guard in that jewelry store. And I understand that because there's a lot of diamonds and value in that store. But you know what? I've got friends that have farms. I've got friends that have homes, that have families, that have tractors, that have family heirlooms. And I would argue that their belongings are as valuable to them as the inventory in that jewelry store.
You're right.
And why could they be able to protect their valuables or surrounding or family and store, but yet someone, any other citizen can't protect what's dear to them?
You're absolutely right. I don't want to be on a soapbox here, Andy, but I've been teaching concealed carry here for about 35 years to everybody. Legal age, of course, non-criminal background. But the interesting thing is, if people look at specifically a Supreme Court decision that came down years ago, not too many, it was Bruin versus the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, where, of course, if we look deeper into this, and this is not a show about the Supreme Court, but it basically reaffirmed that it was unconstitutional for the people in the New York area to deny the individuals from getting concealed carry permits like we teach here. And look, we still have crime out here in Arizona, but what I'm trying to say is, if you don't know what rights you have, how do you know what rights you're going to lose? So that's a whole nother subject. But tell us briefly some of the products that you offer, because this is interesting, because every shooter needs proper holsters, they need safes, they need all kinds of things. What do you offer? And I'd like to hear that.
Well, real quick, the Second Amendment defends all the other amendments. As gun owners, in this country, just the citizens of this country make up one of the biggest armies in the on the planet. And I think that's one of the reasons that we remain a free country. But yes, back to when I had that song out, American Rebel, and we decided to turn it into a brand. The song became the mission statement for the company. This was back in 2015. Our first product offering was concealed carry clothing, backpacks, coats, jackets. We moved into gun safes. Great. And then we had the good opportunity to buy out our OEM manufacturer, and which was Champion Safe. So we're very proud to be, involved in the 2A business.
Sounds great. And if you're a firearm owner within the sound of my voice, far and wide, and you're still legally allowed to have this, these particular tools to defend yourself and your families, obviously the proper safe security and the things that our good special guest is talking about, Andy Ross. Let's continue with the phone calls. Line number 4, we go to Silas in Staten Island. Silas, you're on with Andy Ross. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'd like to say, as far as American exceptionalism, I thank God and my mother for giving birth to me, the woman who was the greatest person in my life, and I thank God I was born in the USA. And as far as the First Amendment, there's a lesson to be learned at the Nova thing where those savages came in and murdered people savagely, viciously, and took hostages.
Horrible.
One thing is, as they kicked in doors, they knew those people didn't have guns to fight back. If they did, most of those terrorists would be laying dead in the street. That's a lesson that nobody's ever, they don't bring it up. If those people were able to protect their families, my family is just as important to me as that banker's money. He's got it right on the line there. And as far as rock and roll, all music is legitimate, but to me, my form of music is rock and roll and rhythm and blues, and none of them could have been born anywhere else but in the USA.
Hey, there you go. Now, Silas, that could almost sound like a whole promo for somebody's show, but not mine. But no, seriously, you say it so well. That's a beautiful thing. We're almost up at a break here, but thank you, Silas, in Staten Island. You say it very well. Your response here, we got about a minute or two before we go to the next break as we talk about In the Theater of the Mind.
Well, I appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. It's the caller there. It's interesting that if you look at the crime rates in our country, the highest crime rates are the areas that have the strictest gun control, that offend the Second Amendment the most. And it just shows you that gun control doesn't work. They can't keep guns out of prisons. They can't keep drugs out of prisons. What makes them think that they could keep, guns off the streets from criminals that aren't in prison? So, no gun control area, like, take Chicago, for instance, it's one of the highest crime rated, metropolitan areas in the country with the strictest gun control.
Well, we've had John Lott here on programs I've done over the years, and if you're not familiar, ladies and gentlemen, with Dr. John Lott, More Guns, Less Crime is one of his theses. Now, this individual is not just some guy that decided on Monday that he was going to start talking about firearm rights and Constitution. He is a scholar, and obviously he writes, doing extensive research, I should say. And that's an interesting book for people to read. We've had him on many, many times in my previous life. And the interesting story is rights denied is what many states do have today, and what a shame. We don't want to turn it into the Wild West, even though some places in the West here are still kind of wild. But again, it's all about the family. It's all about discipline. It's all about, if you're not acting on behalf of your family, who you're acting on behalf of. And family training and all that, I don't mean to lecture. But ladies and gentlemen, we have more callers like Viviana, line number 1 in Brooklyn. Line number 2, Gray in Delaware, and line 3, Al in Yonkers. We'll do our best to get back with you as we continue on the Dr. Sky Experience Theater of the Mind. And now is a good opportunity to head to the snack bar, but hopefully a healthy treat, and we'll resume right after these announcements.
This This is 77 WABC Newsroom Extra.
Broadway's popular musical The Book of Mormon is moving temporarily to Broadway's August Wilson Theater. That's to allow repairs to continue at the show's permanent home, the Eugene O'Neill Theater, which was damaged in a fire earlier in May. Assistant FDNY Fire Chief David Sims says it started in an electrical room, causing substantial damage.
It was very difficult to get to. There was a lot of catwalks and rigging in the theater. The building is going to be out of service.
In-person ticket sales now available for shows beginning after May 17th. The award-winning show's been on Broadway since February of 2013. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
77 WABC honors the life of our friend Ed Mehmet. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Cop Dog with Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
David Giordano, Lori Capo. Who would you say, of course, Mandami's going to win. I know it's 3 years from now, but who would you say is interested in even being a mayor anymore? I mean, Curtis lost twice. Adams, of course, couldn't do 2 terms. He's history. I mean, unless he makes a comeback. Cuomo, God knows. Mandami, of course, on a swim unless he gets Bruce Blakeman comes in and moves in. It's impossible. You know, if he screws up, or Trump comes after him for some reason. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, if the mayor's race was tomorrow, who do you guys think?
It's going to be an activist of some sort.
But you know what, it's tough. I mean, you know, Democrats, there's no end to them. You'll always find somebody that wants to run, I think, on a Democratic ticket. It's a Democratic town.
The lesser of two evils on the Democratic
I think
side.
the only way a Republican would get in is if Mandami destroyed the city. You got to go the other route with a Republican like they did with Giuliani and Bloomberg.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. You talk, we listen. 77 WABC. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
I'm cut, locked, and ready to rock, Doc. Hey, working hard, playing hard, America. This is your blood brother, Ted Nugent, celebrating the American dream and our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. With my blood brother, Steve Gates. Stand up for what you believe in, my friends.
All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. So said a Supreme Court decision back in 1803 entitled Marbury versus Madison. What the heck happened to that? As we continue at 47 minutes after the hour, our special guest to this very short first hour, and we appreciate Andy Ross, patriot, public speaker, musical talent. Learn so much more about him at andyross.com. Let's continue, Andy, with the callers. Line number 1, we have Viviana in Brooklyn. You're on the air, and good morning to you.
Good morning to you. What an honor and a privilege it is to speak to both of you.
Thank you.
My heart leapt when I heard that you were going to have Mr. Ross on because of his great love for America. I am getting ready to go with many, many other Christians and other people that love America to the mall in D.C.
Wow.
Our precious president, Donald John Trump, has set today as the day for rededicating America back to God. And they realize that because we have gone so far afield, because we have neglected God and we've kept him out of our, we call it 7 mountains of influence: church, government, business, education, arts, and entertainment, and the law, that we have, instead of evolved, we've devolved. And we have gone to the point where our nation was so close to being destroyed from within. I believe someone had said in our history that America will not be conquered from without. It will be conquered from within. And because of that, this rededication is such a beautiful symbol to God, and I believe it will bring revival to America.
Well, Viviana, may I give you a long-distance hug through the virtual power of Talk Radio 77?
Thank you.
I love what I'm hearing here. But, wow, Andy, I tell you, we get some amazing callers in this particular radio show, and what else can you say? She says a heck of a lot that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, that's this was a blessing just to get to hear, her words. And we've been through, this country's been through so much. Everybody's been through. We could do a whole program on what you've been through and what I've been through, and I've been able to pray my way out of so many situations, and I've just when you think and you look around and you think everything doesn't look good or how it's supposed to be, and you don't know what to do, if you just turn to God and pray and put it in His hands, it just seems to work out better than you ever expected every time. And I just really appreciate your words today.
Thank you, Viviana. God bless you, and God bless America, as they say, but we mean it.
Amen.
We certainly take it not for granted by any means. Let's continue here. Line number 2, Gray in Delaware. You've been patient. You're on with Andy Ross. How are you doing today?
Gentlemen, this show is not only awesome, it's necessary for 21st century America. I love it. You guys are awesome. But before I get to the meat and potatoes, I just want to say something. We were talking before about people becoming their own artists and everything. Just keep in mind, if you do create any new writings or anything, make sure you copyright it. Anything else, if you need trademarks, you do it so nobody can steal your ideas. It belongs to you forever. Okay, the Second Amendment. We have to realize that not everybody believes what we believe. And the last caller just said we'll be conquered from within and not from without. We have communist mayors now who are foreign born. We're being conquered from within and from people coming into the country. And not all of them respect the Second Amendment. And people like in New York, anywhere, Boston, anywhere where you have they're not even leftists, they're really communists now, mayors and legislatures and city councils, they are anti-gun. They are pro-criminal. So if this argument is that we know that we should be able to protect ourselves. I know in the stats in New York City in the last 70 years, like a million women have been raped. If they had a nice little Saturday night special at 22 or 32, those numbers would have been much different. It would have been in favor of the ladies.
You're right. And they need training, but the look, it all starts at the ballot box. Obviously, all politics is local, and I don't want to go thermonuclear on this. That's not my style, but I couldn't agree more with you, Gray. We have to respect what it is, these traditions in America, not by force, but they should be taught. And you're so right about that. Time is of the essence. Gray in Delaware, we appreciate you. Andy, a quick response back, because I'd like to see if we can get some other callers in before the clock runs out.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that people who are, that vote for gun control, that are trying to tear down the Second Amendment, somehow think less guns, less violence. I said this before, they can't keep drugs out of prisons. How do they think they're going to keep guns out of the hands of criminals by taking guns away from law-abiding citizens? All they would do would be to turn it into a black market. They'd be smuggled in. They'd come up from Mexico. They would turn it into a business, just like they've turned drugs and other illegal items into a business. And the only people who would have a hard time buying guns and having guns would be the law-abiding citizens who you want to have the guns. So none of it makes any sense. I follow the money. Where's it coming from? I have a hard time believing that they honestly believe that that's a good idea.
Interesting. Let's close out the hour. Line number 3, Al in Yonkers. You've been patient. Your commentary with our guest, Andy Ross.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Sky, and your guest. I just wanted to say in regards to the Second Amendment, I consider myself a pretty conservative person. I'm not really a big gun person. I've shot a gun, a Glock and a 38 years ago. I think what's happened with the Second Amendment and the gun lobby is with the terrible shooting of James Brady, who was, almost, he basically was never the same. And those brave Secret Service agents and Metropolitan Police who protected Ronald Reagan. I think, Sarah Brady really pushed for the Brady Bill, and I do agree with your guest that if you do go into areas like Texas and Florida, the statistics show that those who have handguns and are law-abiding citizens, usually you don't have a big crime spree. It's usually in cities other like New York City. So I do agree that's the truth. But in regards to AK-47s and all, I do think there should be some kind of some background check, even if it's not too long.
Al, I appreciate your commentary. I don't want to cut our guest off, but I teach this stuff. We teach the development and building of ARs. We teach the building and development and the entire process of how to strip, field strip, and AKs, everything. I could go on for hours, but this is not the format for it. Just that we should release it. I think in the hour, I think you would agree, Andy, that respect for our traditions, American exceptionalism, and on the local level, talking about getting into the schools with the Pledge of Allegiance and teaching about American exceptionalism and teaching stories about this, and that we are truly a republic, not necessarily a constitution. I mean, a democracy, excuse me for jumping out of line here. Anyway, let's go with one more call. We'll see if we can get them in there because they've been patient. Line number 1, we go to Paul. You've been patient in North Jersey. Thanks for joining us. Your comment.
Well, I wanted to mention that the Pledge of Allegiance was actually written by a group of people that were trying to reform education. And it was written without the line, "One nation under God."
Okay.
And then when that line was put in the 1950s is when they stopped wanting to say the Pledge of Allegiance in the schools.
Didn't know that. That's an interesting commentary. Andy, your final comment, and I do appreciate what you're trying to say there, Paul. Always good information from our listeners out there. We wrap it up, and I want to, again, promote your website. And I hope your tour, I hope you get out to the New York area. I hope you get out to Arizona here and all that location, because I think people would want to hear the American Rebel, burning patriotic fuel. Give us your website again, and you get the floor for a couple of minutes.
Well, I've got a great tour schedule. One of the things I'm really excited to do and blessed to play, playing July 3rd, the night of, July 4th weekend, but July 3rd, we're headlining a 250th celebration stage on the battlefield at Gettysburg. And that's just going to have to be one of the highlights of my music career. So looking forward to getting out there, and we're doing quite a few shows out in Pennsylvania. We play a lot of NHR races, NASCAR races. But I just wish everybody out there the best. I want everybody to chase their version of the American dream. If your American dream is to be a woodworker and have a great woodworking shop, have a small business where you can work with your family, or just do your best at a job that you then have a job that you like and love. I wish everybody their happiness, their version of the American dream. And, my advice, put God first, and appreciate being on the show today.
Andy Ross, you say it so well. Appreciate your time. And there's one thing that I want to mention that you didn't mention. You have your own line of custom-crafted beer. And boy, do I like beer. And yet, something I got into a 40 pair of pants the other day. I guess I got to do something. I'm embarrassed to admit that to this wide audience. I once was a 38, and I once was a 36, but bring it on. What's the name of the beer? People go to your website.
That's why we make a light beer. We made it for you. American Rebels, America's patriotic brand. And when one of the major beer companies out there kind of showed their colors, we decided to jump in that business. And we created America's patriotic, God-fearing, Constitution-loving, national anthem singing, stand your ground beer. It's called Rebel Light. We're in 18 states. AmericanRebelBeer.com. I appreciate you letting me mention it.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And don't ever sell that car, but if you do, come out to the big Barrett-Jackson auction. I'm sure that car would bring mucho dinero, big bucks, don't you think? There you go. Well, thank you.
Would be a good place to show it off, for sure.
We always go there. We see the most amazing vehicles, but I learned one thing real quick. Never jump up in excitement and say anything loud, because you might become the owner by a fake bid if they don't catch it in time. You disrupt a lot of people. Andy Ross, AndyRoss.com. Thank you so much for being part of the Dr. Sky Experience. Stay tuned. Hour number 2, we continue with the great mysteries of what's going on in the world of ufology. As if you think you've heard everything, stay tuned for a retired United States Navy captain from Naval Intelligence, Doug Cupo. He's going to dissect all these disclosures. Stay tuned, because we all learn something, and that's our goal here on the Dr. Sky Experience, to learn something new each time we listen. And we thank you for being part of our Theater of the Mind. Hour number 2, just around the corner.
WABC New York, WRCR Haverstraw, and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays. This is 77
All right, so they're on break right now. Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up. So I just want to say, everybody, thank you for watching. And please like and share the video. Also subscribe to the live stream. I mean, excuse me. Share the live video and subscribe to my channel. There you go. Duh. And thank you for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, please post it in the chat. I will read them during the commercial breaks. So, of course, 1 hour is in the books now. We're now going to go to the second hour. And I don't know if I'm going to continue my stream tonight, because it seems like nobody's on tonight, but it's okay. You know, it is what it is. We have nights like this. It's actually pretty warm outside here in Yonkers, New York. Right now, it's about 68 degrees. It went up to 86, I think, today. 84, maybe. Tomorrow's supposed to be 89 to 90. I believe tomorrow. It's gonna be a little warmer tomorrow, and Monday's supposed to be, they say, maybe 94, 92. I'm not sure that's gonna happen, but we'll see. The last couple of weeks or so, a few weeks, it's been cooler at night, upper 40s, low 50. But all of a sudden, since today, yesterday and today now, it's warmed up quite a bit. So finally it's here. And of course, Memorial Day weekend is next weekend. This weekend is Armed Forces Weekend. So this is the theme for Dr. Sky tonight, Armed Forces Weekend. So next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. I'm thinking about doing a live stream outside while I'm grilling. And, we'll see what happens. But thank you for watching, and back to Dr. Sky.
I'm here proudly on this radio station many times during its 24 hours of broadcast time. Truth, justice, and the American way. An interesting phenomenon? No, not just words, but a true form of how this nation was founded and what we believe in, at least many of us. We continue with the Dr. Sky Experience. If you're a first-time listener, thank you for joining us in what we like to call Theater of the Mind. An area for imagination, because we're not staring at a television screen seeing this particular show. That could happen in the future, but for now, a Theater of the Mind. We welcome you with your questions and comments always at 1-800-848-9222. And while you're at it, why not download the WABC app? That would make the listening experience much easier for everyone. And look at all the other benefits that you'll find there. Continuance of learning about how to listen to the podcast, not only of this show, but what about all the other great hosts that you hear here 24/7? Download the WABC app. It's free, and it's definitely something good. I want to thank our helmsman, Bill, and all the guys and gals that are helping make this show what you would expect to hear. My email, in case you have a curiosity question, many times we get guest suggestions, and many times we, of course, get thank yous, and sometimes we get no thank yous. That email, drsky@wabcradio.com. What's interesting is now we shift gears to a subject that's on the minds of so many people. And if you haven't listened to what's happening in the last week or so about this whole UFO story, the United States military, the United States government, more precisely, has said for President Trump that we're going to get to the bottom and offer disclosure on what's happened for 80 years. And that's an interesting subject, and one I think you'll be very much enamored by our special guest. Doug Cupo is a retired U.S. Navy captain from Naval Intelligence. a former senior U.S. Defense Intelligence officer, and interesting senior systems engineer. He has 4 decades of experience in multi-domain intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. It's known as ISR. Support to joint U.S. military planning operations and assessment, with primary focus on aerospace systems development, engineering, acquisition, and operations. Mr. Kubo has been the Virginia Mutual UFO Network key researcher, lecturer, and disclosure advocate since 2021. We'll have much more on his background, but first, because of a short hour, we welcome Doug Kubo to the conversation with the Dr. Sky Experience. Thank you for being up with us this early morning. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me on again.
Well, I appreciate you, and, the subject is obviously something we want to talk about, the great mysteries that are out there. And I'd like you to take us down the path here, because this is interesting. Many of the news reports, not that they're bad, we have to find out what's really behind this. And we're hearing many in the mainstream or legacy media talk about they're going to be revealing what true disclosure is, and if the government's having these secrets for 80 plus years, we're about to find out the truth. You might say just the opposite. What is the recent disclosures? And let's go into them and define them so the people out there listening can say, wow, I didn't know this. These are all these different names. They have certain numbers and certain assessments from the government. Describe what we're talking about here in the first disclosure.
Sure, exactly. Well, we're dealing first with this new term, a new acronym that the government's come up with called PURSUE. And it stands for Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. And of course, UAP stand for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. And essentially what I'm going to go through with you today, a brief tour, is not about, in this hour, wild speculation, but really about what the government is now officially releasing. A large body of unidentified aerial phenomena material. And it's important because it's not just something that's dramatic on its own accord, but because it marks a shift toward transparency and official acknowledgement of persistent unexplained cases. Some of the main points from my analysis that I'd like to share with the audience today is the majority of the items that are in this tranche, if you will, are prosaic, which really means mundane explanations. But there are unresolved ones that I'm going to go through that are exciting due to their mystical nature. And we have these limitations that I'll go through, too, about metadata and sensors, and I'll go through a couple of terms with you so the audience understands what those are about. Because
yes, but before you do that, if you don't mind, and it's my fault, not yours, of course, talk a little bit about your career without revealing national security issues. And I'm reading this from the bio that you sent. Your career was built on one thing, separating signal from noise under conditions of deep uncertainty. Now, I'll ask the question, and I may not get an answer, but could it have been something to do with submarines and detecting sonar signals or unidentified signals coming from what we might consider to be man-made submarine craft or submersible objects? Can you respond to that?
Yes, I did support the ASW area, in the specific area of ASW. And,
which is what? Anti-submarine warfare, right?
Anti-submarine warfare. And had quite a career doing that. But also, the biggest part of my career was in the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance field, where I helped design the requirements for sensor systems and platforms for space and airborne systems. So that insight gives me great insight into how these sensor systems and platforms are being used to collect against these phenomena, and so that's a key point.
And we had you on about, maybe a year ago, if I'm almost correct, we don't look the exact week and date, discussing what's still in the minds of many in the New York metropolitan area, that includes Connecticut, let's say even parts of Massachusetts, deep into Pennsylvania, down into Delaware and D.C., the mystery of these drones that were seen, some of which allegedly were the size of an SUV, and they didn't seem like a hobbyist drone. You would discuss that with us, too. That was fascinating.
Yes, exactly. And that, to me, in my mind, that has not been settled well. Because there not only was in to go back historically, just it started in December of 2024, as you recall. It has not been settled because there was much more than just New Jersey. It was along the eastern seaboard, and it went out through the Midwest, and it was overseas as well. So everybody can't be imagining these things and deluding themselves into thinking that this phenomenon is there when it isn't there. Something was going on, for sure.
Absolutely. And the government release, as you describe it, official title is Pursue 1.0 UAP files. So can you give us a broad stroke of the brush? What's in there in case people are going, what is Doug Cupo talking about? Describe what's in there for people who never heard about it.
Absolutely. That's what I'm going to do next. Well, first of all, the majority of the items that are in here, the numbers that they're giving are 70 to 80% are prosaic and artifacts. And by artifacts, I mean essentially things that have to do with the sensors, peculiarities with them, that the way they operate and the way they receive this information and process it, because it could be distorting what is being collected. But 50 to 25% are legitimately unresolved. And then they figure there's a 5% that are potentially anomalous, that are doing those famous things like Lou Elizondo used to say, instantaneous acceleration, transmedium travel, fast directional changes, and things of that type. So what we have here is, in the cases that are interesting, that I'm going to go through, metallic orbs and spheres and star-like objects that have been detected, I'm going to go through some of those, that have the strongest, legitimately unresolved nature to them. The kinematic claims, and I'm going to give a couple of definitions here as I go through because they're important to understand. I'll go through those before I actually start the cases. I won't belabor them, but the audience needs to understand some of these definitions, like metadata and kinematics and telemetry.
Yeah, help us.
Yes, I'm going to do that. So the bottom line up front is that this release advances transparency, but it's not the answer to disclosure, as we are thinking about, because there is no smoking gun per se in terms of any non-human technology that's been discovered. Unidentified in this case is not the same as anomalous. The strongest cases really cluster, though, around these recurring orb and geometric objects that have been detected, which is very significant. So when we try to separate signal from noise, and that would be in the multi-sensor area for going against these objects, and the military is obviously the best equipped to do that, the information can't be given to us in totality, because they're classified systems. That's one of the key issues here.
So we're not getting any disclosure. You're saying, at least at this part of the interview, that we're getting a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, that there's no source identifier which comes out and says disclosure. Yes, this is, without a doubt, some sort of alien artifact or alien craft. It's just giving us more information of generalities. Is that what I'm basically hearing so far?
Actually, this is one of the first times where they've given some specifics and declassified what the sensors were actually detecting. So the videos are fascinating, and I invite the audience to go look at the site if they need to get it. You just type in pursue.gov, I believe. They can see these videos, and they can see the motion of these objects. And one of them that we're going to go through, I don't want to steal the thunder because it's going to come up in a moment here, is from the United States Central Command, the command that's working the Iran Epic Fury conflict right now. Mm-hmm. So as we go on, are there any cases that stand out? Yes, but there is no single smoking gun. Everyone is looking. If you probably have heard in the discussions that have been going on all the television and podcasts, where is this reverse engineering program for alien technology? Where are the biologics? These species, these alien species. That's not in here. Do they talk about recovered craft? No, none of that's in here. So
not yet, right? Not yet.
Not yet. That's a very good point, Dr. Sky. Not yet. Okay. And we're waiting on that. And there's supposed to be some 49 or 46 videos that Representative Luna from Congress has been following very closely because she's had classified briefings on them, and they're actually going to provide unclassified renditions of these very soon. That's what they're promising. So here's what we have. Where the most compelling material that comes up is in multi-sensor military encounters, and this is fascinating because these are trained observers in the military that are using a combination of radar, electro-optical, infrared sensors. They're correlating that, and they've been involved in restricted airspace incidents at their very classified bases in some cases out west. The Apollo material, I'll talk about that, is historically interesting. I'll tell you a little tidbit on that I briefed on a couple of years ago. That is, they came up here. The interesting thing about the Apollo detections, people say, well, it's less evidentially strong than the modern sensor cases. Well, I would argue that in space, obviously, there are a lot of phenomena that are affecting the acquisition of signals and how you can detect these objects. Because and I'll go through some of those. But the Apollo missions, Apollo 11 and 12, had actual occurrences of UAP following them.
Yeah, and that is interesting, Doug, because we've never heard that. Now, I've met, and maybe you have, so many of these moonwalkers, and we spent time with them in pretty good detail. But I've asked this question. I never had a chance to ask Pete Conrad of Apollo 12 this, but a good friend of ours who's since passed on, like many of the Apollo astronauts, obviously Edgar Mitchell on Apollo 14, we went into that a little bit, and he, I think, this is my opinion, of any of the astronaut corps that might have been so open to these type of phenomenon, I never pursued that. I should have with him, but that's a whole other story. But if you're just joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience, who are you listening to, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. Cupo, that is Doug Cupo, retired United States Navy captain of Naval Intelligence and a former defense intelligence officer. He spent 4 decades in his particular area of expertise, which is signal acquisition. But even closer to home, he's the Virginia Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, key researcher and lecturer and a disclosure advocate since 2021. And if you have a question, I want to throw this question out to the audience. Have you, ladies and gentlemen, looked and pursued Pursue 1.0, the program identified as Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, long discussion by direct presidential order as of May 8th, 2026? Your questions come into the Theater of the Mind at 1-800-848-9222. Please continue, Doug. It's fascinating. It's kind of a lot of stuff to talk about, but please continue on what is in this pursuit.
What we can, because you could go on this for the rest of the week. It's very, it was a power-packed file release, I have to say. Quite a bit of data was put out. Some key terms here before we go on, because we're going to use these terms in a lot of the discussion. Metadata. You hear this term metadata, and in simple terms, metadata is data about the data, but let's talk a little more about it. It's how the data was recorded. It's where and when and by what sensor and under what operational conditions. And examples would include, just like your cell phone or a sophisticated sensor pod on an aircraft, zoom level, sensor type, altitude, geographic coordinates, file history, how the file is progressing as the collection is going, and chain of custody. The next one is very important, kinematics. Kinematics is the study of motion characteristics.
Okay.
And really, this is how we explain the forces causing these impacts on these objects. And the key ones to remember here, and I will tell you, it's very interesting when I came across this. These are exactly the ones that Dr. Avi Loeb said in a Zoom that I attended. He gave a special session to a San Diego MUFON audience that I attended. And they are speed, acceleration, trajectory, directional changes, hovering behavior. That's very interesting, that one. And maneuverability. So that's the kinematics, the movement of these craft.
Right, and many defying the laws of physics, which lends to the whole point of saying, wait a minute, if it's not an earthly manufactured technology, where in the hell did this thing come from? But we're slowly, it's like molasses just trying to thaw out. We're not getting, well, the president, of course, I respect him. He's not just going to jump on television or any other source of media and say, you know what, there are aliens, we do have them, we have the bodies, and we're going to do this for the 250th anniversary. We're going to lie one out in a craft on the ellipse right near the White House, and you can get to see it if you call this number right now to get your ticket. That's not happening yet.
Plastic bag.
Oh, exactly. Well, when you look at this,
the plastic bag.
This report, the next one that comes up is very important, is understanding the geometry. And going back to our geometry lessons,
Don't worry about that.
This is really all about what the shape of an object is, its orientation, its spatial structure. It could be circular, aerodynamic, rotating, and all that. So we need to understand that, because the observer and the sensor platform versus that object are going to have geometry considerations that will be the telltale signs of how that detection is going to occur. If it occurs successfully, they have to resolve that geometry.
Let me stop you for a minute with total respect here, and this is a question that I think many listeners out there may be having. They can ask for themselves in detail at 1-800-848-9222. Then what in this disclosure would give the average person out there who has really no aerodynamic or science background any information that talks or leads toward disclosure? Because you're giving us great information. It's just that so many people out there, no disrespect to them, they may not have this experience where they're looking for this, and obviously it doesn't happen. Yes, these are real, here's where the craft is, and here's the body.
Right. Well, I'll go through it. Let's go through the cases, because I think that's important, because they did give a layman's appreciation in the narratives to these detections. And the first one is the famous Apollo 17. This is actually Apollo 17 triangular lights from 1972. And there is a image that's fascinating where three luminous points are in the lunar sky imagery from the base, from the lunar base from Apollo 17. Mm-hmm. Some people are arguing it could be likely ice particles or lens flares. A lot of experts are challenging that, because there have been challenges before on some of these images where mathematical and geometric analysis has been done, and they're showing clear metallic objects they believe that are moving along.
And not only is that a difficult thing, what about the people who don't ever believe that we went to the moon? I spent a lot of time personally with Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt.
Oh, yeah?
And I was never the one, because I never thought of this at the time, to ask both of them. Obviously, Harrison is still alive, God bless him, but Gene has passed on to the infinite. But it's interesting, because many times we could explain it as lens flares from the simplicity side, but who knows? So the government is now saying, wait a minute, we're opening up these Apollo files to add kind of a mystery to the whole thing, and that's what we're trying to resolve.
Right. Well, we have these ones on Apollo. It was Apollo 12 and Apollo 17, and multiple discrete cyan blue contacts clustered together, different morphologies. They had their long elongated structure that's out there in the sky. So it's very, very interesting. One other one that's very fascinating that is actually mentioned in here, and by the way, this is the first time that NASA has come clean on a lot of these. They have not wanted to discuss these. There was a famous Apollo 11 technical crew debriefing that took place in 1969, in July 31st, where all three members discussed an unidentified bright object that they sighted one day out for the moon.
Amazing.
And Buzz Aldrin said it seemed to have a bit of an L shape to it, like an open briefcase, a suitcase. But the crew basically asked at that time, they said, where is the S4B, the S-4B, which is the
booster rocket.
Mm-hmm. The booster rocket that sent them in, and they were told it was 6,000 miles to the east. So whatever that object was, it was not that one example of excellent. I'll go through.
Well, Doug, as the host of the show, I hope you don't mind this, but you're lighting up the phone lines here like a 4th of July firecracker, a bunch of firecrackers here. So in the limited time we have with you, obviously we appreciate it. Let's go to line number 1 and welcome Melvin in the Bronx. Melvin, you're on with former retired United States Navy Captain Doug Cupo, Naval Intelligence. How about that? And thanks for being with us.
All this conversation is about diversity. Charity begins at home. If there's anybody out there who wants to come on down here and communicate, they would have been here a long time ago. Evidently fine. If we want to go out there, fine, go out there. But all this other thing right here, let's take care of what's going on right here. We got all these people coming to the United States of North America for what? Because of Columbus in 1492, which laid the groundwork for a whole lot of this message going on today. Let's take care of the mess that's going on right here now. Why? If there's anything up there, they do not want to come down. Of course, all the mess are being created down here by how people refuse to get along with each other.
Hey, boy, you say it very well. Why can't we all just get along, right, Melvin? So why would aliens want to come here if you think, in your opinion, that the place is kind of a mess? But, Melvin, I want Doug to respond here because that's kind of a generic statement that we're both bringing up here. You know, you're exactly right. He's right. Why would you want to come here if this place is a mess? But maybe there's other reasons why alien technology or alien craft want to visit this Earth. Maybe it's minerals. Maybe it's us. You know, like a Twilight Zone episode, to serve man. That's a really weird one, but go ahead, please.
Right. There have been many theories espoused by that, by ufologists like Hal Puthoff and Jacques Vallée as to why alien visitation could be occurring if that in fact is what it is. And you mentioned one of them where they're looking for resources. We don't want the one issue conquest to be a reason, obviously. We have not seen any indication, and nobody who has followed this has studied it, has stated that. I know Stephen Greer indicates that he believes they're all benevolent, these species, as they're being examined. There's no confirmation right now, but clearly there are a number of reasons. Well, some include Dr. Masters' work where they're time travelers. And that's an interesting one.
Right, an interdimensional type situation. That's something that our physics do not understand. But before we go to the rest of the callers, and I'm interrupting you, Doug, and I apologize because it's kind of like a stream of consciousness with my mind right now.
Right.
Your opinion on Dr. Stephen Greer. I thought I watched a video, and again, I'm not saying this with accuracy, not to attack Dr. Stephen Greer, that many of those witnesses that are missing, that there's some sort, and I think this is what he said, so again, don't quote me on this. Maybe you have better knowledge, and maybe you disprove what I'm saying. That maybe some of these witnesses that have seen this have all been bumped off by some interagency government hit squad, if that's what he's trying to say. Any response on that, or do I have it totally wrong?
I think that one is very debatable. Because the FBI is looking at it now, and so far, you know, right now, as you know, that list has been growing almost on a weekly basis because people are taking up any anomalous type event that took place with an individual. But clearly, these individuals are in bins, if you will, as to what happened with them. Some had suicide, some were part of a family murder problem that happened.
It's very, very complicated.
Yeah. And then the ones that are one of the most disturbing ones is the General McCaslin, Neil McCaslin, who disappeared out west. So he went off the face of the earth. You know, he took off one day with his literally with his gun.
Doug, we got a break coming up here, and I always apologize to guests and to holders. We have to follow the rules here, and in the radio.
All right, yeah, they're going on a break. Hello, James Farley. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a great week. Thank you for stopping by. Hi, Danny. Are you having fun? Yeah, I'm having fun with AI. I'm using this tool that YouTube recently added. It's called Reimagine. What you do is you have to go into your, in my case, I have I have short videos. You could only do it with a short video, and it's best to have their permission. So in my case, for example, if you go to the Danny Show, I have a whole bunch of AI there. On the Danny Show, I have a whole bunch. So I'm like, yeah, it's a whole bunch. So, so I go to my, like any short video that I posted on this channel. So you go into is basically you have to do that on the mobile app. So you go to remix, and then right there you see there's gonna be a button that says well, I don't know if it's a button, whatever you want to call it. It says reimagine. Once you hit that, you got basically it's like Chat GPT, but it's more for video, and they give you some suggestions, but you can type in your own stuff, and it'll take that video and remake it into something. So that's what I've been doing. So if you go to the Danny Show, there's a lot more there. And, some of them are quite funny. My wife was laughing at a couple of them. So, of course, I posted one here on this channel about the satellite dish. So, yeah, I had fun with them. And actually, some of them got pretty good views. One of them got over 1.9K views in one day, 24 hours on the Danny Show. A couple of them got over 1,000 views. So, the Danny Show was struggling with views, but now it's got quite a few views. So, hey, for a small channel like that one, hey, it's a welcome surprise to get those views. And I got a few more subs. So, yeah. Of course, on this one, I posted that video with the satellite. I don't know how many views that one got right now. Last time I checked, I think it was 300 or 400 views. But yeah, they're it's funny. Of course, I'm trying to remake myself, and it's funny. It looks just like me almost. But of course, they changed my voice. Whatever. But it's fun. Yeah, I am having fun with them, and they bring a couple more views to the channel. Why not? I like the sound of the new TF radio. Yeah. The DP666. Yeah, I think they're both on par. The same audio. I think what happened with this one, I put the audio actually higher on this one in the settings. That one, I didn't want to put the audio too high, but I might have to put that one audio too high. But I think they're about the same. It's just that you have your audio here, your physical audio, but inside the menu, you can put a higher audio. So this one, I think, is a little slightly higher because this one was part of the FMDX web server, and the other one is not. But there you go. Okay, back to the program. For the last half hour of the program.
Doug, welcome back. You're lighting up the phone lines here, and I do want to get you to explain so many more of the things that we're talking about here.
Sure.
But let's go to line number 3. He's been patient. Let's say good morning to Danny in California on the other side of the nation.
Hey,
good morning,
Danny.
Oh, hi, gentlemen. And it seems to me that, like, Trump in November is going for the Art Bell vote, I think if you go back in the National Enquirer 40, 50 years, you'll probably get more information on UFOs and space aliens than they're going to release. This is my opinion. I'll throw it right on the table, my cards. Our government has no space alien bodies. They have no spacecraft from any other planet, any other universe. That's all put out there. Is it a distraction? I don't know what it is. There are people fascinated by it, but don't be bamboozled by it. That's why I would tell people. I know in the 1950s they would make like 200-300 science fiction movies. In the 60s came the TV shows, Twilight Zone stuff. Yeah, and that's when you started hearing people talking about they had a couple of drinks, a couple of JDs in Southern Comforts, and they were on a spaceship 20 minutes later. So this is all done nonsense. Maybe Trump's going for the Art Bell thing. Look up 50 years ago in the National Enquirer, get some good articles on spacecraft, but it's all nonsense. It's just
and you won't believe it until you see evidence, right? Just like a lot of people out there. If you could show me a craft and you could show me a body, then, and here's an interesting thing that you could comment on, Doug. Yeah. Is there even one, and again, I'm a believer that something's there, so don't think on the opposite side. I want disclosure, but that's not important what I say. Is there even any shred of evidence that we have from any of these so-called alien craft encounters? Anything? Metallic substances, pieces of something? Is there anything in your mind that you can share with us? Because Danny in California, obviously entitled to his opinion, might think differently.
Very good point. To my knowledge, no. There was something that had to do with called Art's Parts, which was a supposed sample from a craft, and it was Art Bell that had the radio interview with the individual who claimed to have it. That was only in 2024 analyzed by the Oak Ridge National Lab, and they determined it to be terrestrial-based material.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I think I remember that interview because I was on with Art Bell for many years before it transitioned over to George. But no, he brought up that is Art. So many very interesting interviews, which I could never laugh at because so many of them, the people sounded, people can sound credible, but the evidence can, continue to pile up. Danny's entitled to his opinion. Let's continue here. We're trying to go through the caller board because that's what we love to do. Hear what the listeners have to say. Line number 2, Rob in New Jersey. You've been patient. You're on with Doug Cupo of MUFON. How you doing? Rob in New Jersey. Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can, but barely. Maybe you can speak up a little louder and get your turn.
Okay, sure. A couple of issues. In terms of the Second Amendment, does everybody have the right to have submachine guns or nuclear weapons? And as far as the UFOs go, we have about 125,000 years of humans, but we only have about 10,000 years of history. So it's possible that the various UFOs, they come from different rival earlier human civilizations. And maybe that's what the story is with them, that they be coming here and they may not all get along just the way humans have not all got along too well.
Yeah, you brought up some interesting points. I know we covered the Second Amendment in the first hour there, but moving on to this discussion that you're bringing up, I appreciate your call, Rob. Doug, that's interesting what he's talking about in the UFO realm there. I mean, who knows what's going on out there? Your expertise is what we want to hear.
Well, exactly. That goes back to these theories that have been espoused by Jacques Vallée, Hal Puthoff, and others, that there are a host of these species, of these beings, ostensibly, that have been visiting the Earth. They go by the names of the extraterrestrial species, the interdimensionals, the ultra-terrestrials. Those are ones that are here. You've probably seen that in news articles just recently, that they say the aliens have been here. They're not coming. They're here. And that's what these people are referring to, that they could be living in the oceans. Admiral Tim Gallaudet believes that there's something unusual going on with the oceans, with these unidentified submerged objects called USOs. So there's only something on the order of 75 or 80% of the oceans haven't been fully explored. We don't know what's under there.
On a personal note, if you don't mind sharing this with the audience, your background in military naval intelligence, what got you interested in this whole subject? Just tell us, because, not everybody who has your background, and I respect it highly, military and your technology, what got you interested in this? One day you woke up and continue the story.
Yes, in the recent years, this subject, and it was particularly from the 2017 release of the Navy videos, that sparked my interest, where they came out and showed very compelling anomalous aircraft. And there are many interpretations as to what that could actually be. Is it some type of a distortion, a sensor distortion, or these different types of parallax view? One of the things that's necessary is that I'm interested in is studying exactly how the sensor characteristics and performance are being worked for these problems. There are physics and engineering issues that if you don't follow a regime to do that and analyze these craft, you're not going to come up with the right answers as to what they are. So that's what got me interested about it. Most recently was the 2017. I had always been interested in sci-fi, with Star Trek and things of that type since I was young, but with the possibilities of alien life and Carl Sagan and all that, he's one of my heroes. Understanding that axiom, extraordinary, evidence requires extraordinary proof, right?
Exactly. So this is fascinating as we continue with Doug Cupo, United States retired Navy Captain, Naval Intelligence, a big member of MUFON in the Virginia area and part of course, the Virginia Mutual UFO Network, a key researcher, a lecturer, and a disclosure advocate since 2021. We're taking your calls on this. Before we go to the next break, and I want to try to squeeze as many callers in, that's why we do this show. We want to hear what people think, and that's very important to me. But this is interesting. I've always been a believer. I spent a lot of time with Betty Hill of the Barney and Betty incident. We spent time with her over the course of 3 or 4 years. And I had, a lot of respect for her. Her husband passed, of course. I never met him. And also Travis Walton here, like where we have a place up in the mountains here in Arizona, where, of course, he lives up in the Heber area, and his experience is, off the charts. So something's going on out there. For anybody that thinks this is total nonsense, your opinion on this. What do you want to hear? You talk about the MUFON group. What do you want to hear from this government in short order? Just tell us, and not sound like you're doing the speech in front of the White House.
No, exactly. I think what I'd like to see is the released information on the truly anomalous performance and characteristics that they're holding for some of these craft, because they clearly, when they say, I think it's a big step that they're doing a release of things like the Dugway Proving Ground one,
correct,
where helicopters were chasing this fiery orb, and we had multiple witnesses. The crew of the helicopter, the ground people saw it, and they obviously have detection information from the sensors. So, there are many things that could be causing flares and fiery orbs and things of that type. They could be atmospheric. They could be reflections of different types of things in the atmosphere. But one thing is certain: if they have this hard evidence as to what these anomalous craft are doing, and they are in fact moving at right angles, like people have indicated. There was one in Tajikistan where United Pan Am pilots that was a famous one in '94. They basically said when they did their debrief, they said this was an ET event that we experienced with this craft that was trailing us and following us.
And so going closer to home here, when Representative Burchett went into the closed, skiff, as they talked about, after we had the experience of David Grush in his 2023 testimony.
Right.
And I think he said something to the effect, again, not an exact quote, boy, you probably don't want to know what we heard in there. But, if that's some sort of a threat to this world, well, of course they're not going to tell us. But you heard something similar, too, didn't you, about what his response was in somewhat like the words I used.
Yeah,
you don't really want to know what the hell
you got trouble sleeping at night. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's what he said. I'm interested in more details on that. One of the things that is frustrating about this whole affair is they can't fully disclose what they're getting briefed on, and that will lead to speculation, and theories and conspiracies and all of this sort of stuff.
Maybe there's reverse engineering of these craft as alleged. We don't have time. I know this is very embarrassing to you and to myself and the audience. We were going to get into a conversation about David Grush, one of the key whistleblowers, and also the story of Robert Lazar. Maybe we'll tackle that when we come back from the break here in about another minute. But it's fascinating. We haven't forgotten you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on the line, we'll do our very best to get you on the air to express your opinions. And I think we'll ask it very simply to the audience. do you really believe that there'll ever be disclosure on these subjects? And then maybe the answer is, well, no, of course not. The government's not going to tell us the things that we don't need to know, because who knows what that could do? Could it destabilize, the future of energy markets in the world? Could it destabilize people from religious beliefs? Could it cause some sort of a ripple in our education system? Who knows? But I would be open as a calm person to want to know, just like you, the mysteries of the universe we're talking about here. And that we hope everybody can learn something from each time we bring a special guest on here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We'll be right back with our MUFON friend, Doug Cupo, sharing with us.
All right, here we go. Another break, and that'll be the last break before the end of the program. And yeah, so the sound, I think it's about the same. It's just that this one, when you go into the menu, you can actually make the volume higher than the default setting. Because this one, originally the volume was kind of low, and I had to bump up the volume in the menu setting. Same thing with the other one, the same thing. So, but that one I didn't want to bump it up too much because I wasn't sure how it was going to sound. But I think they're about the same. It's just this one has a metal case. Maybe this one rattles a little more than the other one. I don't know. But yeah. So there you go. Yeah, so the AI thing, I'm having fun with it. It's a YouTube AI. It only works for short videos. I think it only makes about an 8-second video. So, I mean, they're fun little videos. And they do bring a couple of views to the channel, so why not? I'll do that once in a while. I think the satellite one was kind of funny. So, anything to bring a couple of more views to the channel. Like I said, right now I'm at 904,000 total views. I just went over the 900,000 mark. I'm really trying to get to the 1 million mark. That is a milestone that I would love to achieve on this channel before, God forbid, we never know. We're not guaranteed. Tomorrow's no guarantee for anybody in this world, including yours truly. But that's a milestone that I really want to lock up before, God forbid something, not saying anything, just saying, I want that 100. I want that 1 million total views on this channel. To kind of a little feather on my cap for what I've been doing for the last 10 years. Of course, my 10-year anniversary is coming up. That'll be at the end of the summer. Ironically, on September 11th, that will be my 10-year anniversary of this channel. My birthday will be right after, a week after that. I would like to have the 1 million total view mark locked up by then. And I think it's achievable. I have a few months now. May, June, July, August, September. So I have about 3 months, a little over 3 months to achieve it. And of course, I'm going to be doing my 39-day consecutive live stream for the World Cup. So that's going to bring in a lot of views right there, hopefully. Well, hopefully, we'll see. And there you go. And also, like I said, hit the hype button. I just posted a new video earlier this morning, or yesterday morning now. Please hit the hype button. Hit it 3 times. If you have another account, go there too. Hit it. You can hit it as many times. You have other accounts, hit the hype button. Get me up there. Get me in the top 100 and make that video get traction. And thank you for watching.
More on that. I think it's a very
all right, back to the show.
Question from Tom.
Well, for sure, it's going to be reliant on the propulsion of that craft, that rocket. And if you look at how we are traveling right now for interstellar travel,
hit the hype button.
We have the experiences of
my latest video on the
all of the 1960s era leading up to Apollo, the Gemini craft and everything.
And you have to do it from your mobile phone.
We have carbon-based rockets. So we are limited in propulsion with light years of travel as a challenge to get out there into deep space. So we don't. The orbital mechanics is a big issue, but the propulsion mechanisms that we have today, the systems for engineering all these rockets. They're constantly under examination, and we have not found an alternative that can do anything close to speed of light.
Sure. And you said it so well, Doug, that the propulsion, Tom, of the rocket that you have, it wouldn't last forever. Even if it were nuclear, if you look at the broad base of space. Right. So where would it go? That's the question. So what would happen? Let's say you took off from the Earth's equator, which has the fastest, orbital velocity. That's why they launched the James Webb Telescope from the equator, because it was so big, and they wanted to get the Earth's 1,000 miles an hour spin at the equator to boost it quicker because it's heavier. But without confusing it, Tom, you just go out into space, but there would be a trajectory, but that would have to be based on, as you calculate beyond that, even in space when the rocket motor would stop, it would still be moving through space, who knows exactly where, but there would be a point if you could calculate that. And here's a little sidelight, both Tom and Doug. Nuclear tests that were done underground, here's the strangest thing you probably ever heard, maybe you know this, Doug. One of the underground tests, they had a cap on top of it, very heavy, like a hubcap on top, to protect the explosive device down below. What happened was that big 1,000-plus pound hubcap, the cover, was actually blasted out into space at velocities that were that of escape velocity. So can you imagine, Tom? You'd have a big giant cover, like a manhole cover, bigger than that, blasted out into space from a nuclear bomb underground. We have no idea where that went. Pretty crazy stuff, don't you guys think?
Wow.
Let's continue with the callers. Line number 1, Robert, a regular caller to our show in Philadelphia. Good morning, Robert. Thanks for being up.
That's crazy, right?
Thanks for having me, Dr. Sky, and thank you to your guest. My daughter's currently an officer in the Navy in the same field you are in, so it's good to hear from somebody that I know has to be intelligent.
Awesome.
But I was calling because it's kind of a speculation, but a point. When I was referring to this before about the Canadian Minister of Defense, Paul Hellyer, referring to 3 different species or 3 different civilizations. And speculation based on what I know about folk history and all might say, well, one came from the Sirius and one came from Orion's Belt Mintaka and maybe come from Cygnus or the Pleiades. But what occurs to me is that all of these are within our little spur here between the 2 arms of the galaxy, an insignificant little part of the galaxy. And if you're talking about 3 and an emerging 4th civilization, meaning us, in this little part of the galaxy, and you can extrapolate that out, there's probably more civilizations out there than even I thought was possible. Do you know what I mean?
Right, that's a big exponential number. You're right, Robert. If the sun-like stars are like ours, or stars like sun, and they now know exoplanets, wouldn't you think, Mr. Cupo, that there's probably life of some sort out there? Whether they can travel here, that's another question.
Absolutely. The discovery of the exoplanets clearly indicates that the enormity of the universe and the billions upon billions of stars and these now planets that are out there. And one of the things that comes to mind also is this march of civilizations that occurs with technology, referring to the ones that have, like we do, a solar system and a galaxy, and we have yet to master the power of our own sun in our galaxy. And then you've got issues of moving to adjacent galaxies and mastering the power of the stars that are in there, and so on.
Well, thank you. I mean, I hate to cut you guys short. Robert, always a pleasure to hear you with your questions, always insightful. But here's something interesting. The owner-operator, John Katsumatidis, sent me an article from the New York Post here, which needs to be analyzed in its entirety. Apparently, the article talks about government agencies with great intellectual prowess, like Dr. Hal Puthoff, have identified that there are 4 different types of species out there. They're the Greys, they're small, the Nordics are tall and blonde, the reptilians, lizard-like, and I never heard of this one, insectoids that look like mantis, like creatures like a praying mantis triangular head. It sounds pretty bizarre, but who knows, right, Doug?
Right. Yeah. My what I think about that. I have that, I'd love to know, I'd love to sit with him and discuss how he's acquired that knowledge.
And that's what maybe Congressman Burchett was told in the Smith meeting.
A bug planet.
We go to our last caller of the hour, trying to be respectful to the callers. Line number 2, Joe.
It's a bug planet.
What say you on this very subject?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. I just have a quick question. I'll keep it short and sweet.
They sent that media to destroy Buenos Aires.
About the story in which
Jackie
Gleason supposedly drove President Nixon to Area 51. I remember hearing that story.
They launched that meteor
Bell show many years ago.
To destroy Argentina, Buenos Aires.
I was just wondering what you guys thought about that.
Joe, I thought it was a delivery of the president and Jackie Gleason to a place in Florida. So go ahead. Go ahead on this one, Doug.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. It's from his wife, Jackie Gleason's wife. He spoke to her about it, and he was pale-faced when he got home, and he was startled by what he saw. And apparently it was some type of, if this is an early
they launched that meteor that hit Buenos Aires.
Recovered and biologics that we talk about today, it would be interesting if that evidentiary basis could be established.
Absolutely. Doug, how do people get in touch with you? Is there a simple way if they'd like to respond to you or ask questions? What do they do?
Yeah. You can use an email. You can reach me by email.
Ooh.
You want me to give it?
Please do, and give it twice. Sure. Go ahead.
DCUPO72180 and that's DCUPO72180
AOL, that's amazing. I still have one of those accounts somewhere in Cyberspace. That's cool. It was one of the originals. Okay, you got the floor. We only have a couple of minutes here, but I know we really didn't do, and I'm not knocking you, certainly the justice to do on this subject would take, as you said correctly, hours and hours and hours. We got a couple of minutes, maybe 2. Give us a summation and what you believe is happening and what's really going on behind the scenes.
Sure. We're experiencing the first real transparency in the government on this UAP issue with this large tranche of documents that have been released. I've been following them closely since the 2017 timeframe, these releases. And those were actually, the 2017 Navy videos were actually leaks. But in short, what has happened is we don't have disclosure yet. We've got the beginnings of transparency. And then we also have this call for greater data, because the data is incomplete that's associated with these cases. And while they're very exciting, if that data is being held for a reason, obviously national security, protecting sensor platform capabilities, that's one thing. But can it be, and this is what came out recently, I recently attended a briefing by the former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, Sean Kirkpatrick, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. And he basically said it's all about the data and getting the hard evidence.
Rico's Roughnecks.
He was pushing very hard for that. Unfortunately, with a lot of these sightings, especially telephone videos, where
killing alien bugs.
Compressed, you don't get much. You can't get the inside metadata and the raw information that you need to do refined analysis on the geometry of what that is. With the parallax view. Parallax is something where the observer and the object are moving relative to each other, and you could be changing the whole perspective as to what you're acquiring with your collection system. So more to come. The big ones I'm waiting for are these large tranche of 50 videos, almost 50 videos that Representative Luna says are very compelling, and we need to see, and they need to be released to the citizen scientists in America, and let them do it. Let them take a look at this.
A bright star in the heavens with your information here, and I appreciate you. We'll have you back, and contact me, of course, when there's something late breaking so we can get this on the air. We want here on WABC to be the first to be able to give this information out
Another
with
good
your
show.
credibility and, of course, with your research. Thank you for being part of the show. And I want to say a lot of people are saying the Dr. Sky experience is an antidote to the negative news fatigue. So if you believe that, we appreciate you. And also our helmsman, Bill and company, that make sure that you can hear this powerhouse signal as clear and as regular. And we hope you'll join us again. Stay tuned as we pass the torch of conversation over to another side of midnight with Lionel as he moves forward to the early morning hours here.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Scott, for an awesome show. And yeah, they mentioned a couple of things in there. Parallax view. Oh, I'm hearing a back feed over there. Parallax view. There's a movie that I saw a few years ago. Oh my God, it blew my mind. It's an old movie. And it's called Parallax. What is it called? Parallax? Is it the Parallax View? That's the name of the movie too? Somebody tell me in the chat, please. Is it what is it? Oh my God, what's the actor's name? Oh my God, this movie was insane. But it does bring light on the, about the government, about the whole, shadow government type thing. So he was a reporter, right? He was a reporter. So I guess he was uncovering what was going on. So eventually, I know in the end they assassinated some senator that was running for office or something, and he got framed. And of course, they, Secret Service, whatever, they killed him, and they pinned it on him. But in reality, it was the, the government, because I believe that, when they say, oh, the CIA, there's another level above that controls everything. I believe that. I believe there is another shadow government above the government that we see. And it's not Democrat thing, it's not a Republican thing, whatever you want to call it. They're out there. I know it's out there. It has to be out there. There's some, I'm going to call them the puppet masters. Okay? So that movie, the Parallax, I think it's called Parallax View, shadowed that. I mean, it kind of showed that, you don't mess with them. If you mess with them, you're gone. If you try to uncover them too much, you're gone. That movie was bizarro. And there's a scene that I think he was trying to get into something, and they try to indoctrinate him. So they made him watch like a video, and it was like a brainwashing montage video. Of course, the video first started out like, they had images of, homemade home apple pie, red, white, and blue, Americana type stuff. And then as the video progressed, it starts going into the Vietnam War. It touches into slavery. It touches into the, Ku Klux Klan. It gets really bizarre, but it's like a montage. So, when I watched this movie, it blew my mind. I was like, yeah, that's us. Yeah, we live in that society. There's somebody behind us. They're not, you don't know who they are. Or maybe you know who they are. Maybe there are famous people out there, but they had like a secret society type thing. And I believe that. I believe there is a secret society out there. Y'all call me crazy, whatever. I don't care. I believe that, forget about Trump, forget about Biden. There's people more powerful than they are, and they're the ones that are pulling the real strings around the world. And that's what I believe. And that movie was like, boom. Like, yeah, there's another shadow government that's really pulling the strings. Forget about movers, so-called movers and shakers. These people are the real movers and shakers. All right? That's what I believe. That's what I believe. For real. Yeah. I was going to talk about something else, but I just the other thing just blew my mind. This whole thing. Oh, yeah, Starship Troopers, yeah. So, when he mentioned about the different alien species, there's one that's lizard-like. There's one that's the bug-like. So the bug-like, I thought about, Starship Troopers. You remember that movie, Starship Troopers, where the bug planet launched a meteor toward Buenos Aires and it obliterated the city and it killed millions of people. And we went to war with what is it? Clandectu. I don't know. I forgot the name of it. I think it's called Clandectu. It's a planet somewhere in another system. And we went out there to eliminate the bugs. And of course, they made a few other movies after that. I think Starship Troopers Part 2. I think they made it into a 4-part series. I think including the part that in Part 1, I remember the commander of one of the spaceships. There's a nice, fine blonde woman there. I forgot her name. But she died in the first one, but she came back on the second one. She was casted on the second one, even though she had died in the spaceship that exploded over the planet when they were trying to invade Clandectu. And she died there. You remember, I think the door, it was one of those doors, it crushed her. She was like, you can make go. And she got crushed by the door and she died. And then the spaceship blew up after that. So there's no way she would have survived that. But of course, in the second movie, or it was the third movie, I forgot which one was it. She's back in the cast. So, yeah. And of course, the first part of the first movie, the Starship Troopers 1, I remember Dina Meyer. Oh my God, I fell in love with that woman. I love Dina Meyer. If you don't know who Dina Meyer is, you got to look her up. Dina Meyer. Just look her up. She's freaking gorgeous. She still looks gorgeous to this day, and she's of course she's aged very well. Dina Meyer. Of course, that was Rico's fling in Star Trek. Rico, her girlfriend, was actually the what's her name? What's her name? What's that woman's name? The actress, the one that dated, the one that was married to Charlie Sheen. Anyway, that was her. That was his girlfriend. But Dina Meyer was the one that really had a crush on Rico. So of course Rico eventually hooked up with her, and of course she died. I think one of the bugs killed her, and of course when she was dying, she had that bug. What they call it? What they call those? The claws, right? The claws, whatever they call. She got spiked by a bug, and she's dying. She's saying, "Oh, Rico, I don't want to die. Oh, I don't want to die. I love you. I love you." And then she died. And of course, they gave her a military funeral in space, and they jettisoned her body into outer space in a casket. So yeah, that was a cool movie. I love Dina Meyer. She's just smoking hot. She is. But to me, she's smoking hot. I don't care what anybody says. She is one of those. She is one of those women that I will never forget if I see her. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, Dina Meyer. There you go. All right. So there you go. By the way, I am gonna. Anybody want to chat? Let me know in the next few minutes. Otherwise, I'm gonna shut down the stream because you guys are fucking boring right now. And I'm gonna go outside and enjoy the backyard. So unless anybody chats in the next few minutes and says hello, I will end the stream. So there you go. Booyah. All right.
Two people. We have Bill Lee, of course, who, let's face it, who he put together years at the circus.
You guys are putting me to sleep right now.
Country.
Now I like a boring chat. I like an active chat.
His curriculum vitae is so terrific, so incredible. so much a part of this. A man who was abandoned to wolves, and then the wolves abandoned him. But I won't get into it. He swore me to secrecy. He's stewarding the helm, looking at the control board, something I wouldn't know what to do if you let me know. Then we have our friend, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson Warren, who is the first, this is the cat. This is the dude. This is the feller. This is the human who was responsible for, if you think about this, taking you, because being the ombudsman, being that link between you and me. And let me tell you something, and I mean it. I cannot say this enough. It is so critical and so important.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.